Before you set foot here in Italy, you may want to know just how much the restaurants differ from your country. We're gonna do one of the best things you can do here in Italy, eat. In this video, I'm gonna show you how Italians feast and some things that may shock you. We're gonna go over the different courses, learn some useful phrases, and the minute details of reservations. And yes, we're even gonna talk about tipping. Now let's go, I'm hungry. As you may already know, Italians, they spend their days differently. It's not possible to get an early dinner, say at 5 or 6 p.m. like you may be used to in your home country. No, and if you're worried you're gonna be hungry at that time, I suggest you get a solid lunch in you. Lunch times are usually from 12 to 3 p.m. and dinner times, well, they go from say 7 p.m. all the way sometimes to 11:30 or midnight. So those are your hours. In this case here, I booked us in at 12 noon, one of the earliest slots I could get at this place. Ciao ragazzi, possiamo avere questo tavolo qua? Prego. So my friends here have already brought us the menus, and it may seem daunting at first. It looks different than what you'd see, say, in the United States, where there's typically 3 different courses. You have your appetizer, your entree, and a dessert. Now here you'll have a primo, secondo, dolce, which is your dessert. You'll have a contorno, and also you'll have an antipasto, which is your appetizer as well. And also, up on the wall there, they'll have usually a menu del giorno, a menu of the day listed, or the day's plates listed. And sometimes they'll bring 2 menus out, and there'll be a second menu with the wines listed. And in some restaurants, it's this big, thick, book-like thing of all these wines listed. Now don't worry, you don't have to eat every course that's listed on the menu here. No. Just pick and choose which ones you want, or yeah, why not? Eat every one of them, and that's what we're gonna do today. Antipasto, primo, secondo, contorno, dolce.
Allora, l'antipasto voglio mangiare tipo affettati?
Sì.
O crostini?
Gradisco, mi sa, prosciutto toscano con
Io vi porto uno e dividete tutto, così?
Sì. The antipasto, the starter, has already arrived. We're getting into it. This is some Tuscan prosciutto, a great way to start your lunch. Now, I want to talk about drinks. Typically in the US, when you sit down at a table, they'll bring you out water right away. It's free, it's usually included, and they'll keep bringing you out water all the time. In Europe, and yet here in Italy, it's different. When you sit down, they're not going to bring you water right away, and when you're ready for water, you need to ask them. In this case, they brought us water from the tap. And the phrase for that is acqua dal rubinetto or acqua filtrata, and that's the case of this. Now they'll also offer you different bottles. You can get frizzante or acqua senza gas. So frizzante is aqua sparkling water. Acqua senza gas is acqua naturale, natural water, still water. So those are the phrases you need to consider when you want your water. What Marco did and what most Italian places will do is they'll bring you some bread right away when you sit down. Now the bread, they'll always put it down on the table when you sit down. Keep in mind though, you're gonna pay for that at the end, and I'll get into that, why you'll pay for that. Now if you don't want bread, you can let them know and have them hold it and not bring it, but I don't know why you wouldn't want some of this deliciousness. Let's talk about the ice, because it's not a big thing here in Europe. Typically in the United States, you'd always get ice with your drinks, a lot of ice. Well here, if you order a soda, they'll bring it out to you just cold, not with ice. So you need to ask for ice if you want it. Now keep in mind, their sodas, they're not fountain sodas. They're sodas that are kept in a refrigerator in cans or small bottles, and when they bring them out. So if you need ice, the phrase for you is ghiaccio per favore, ice please, ghiaccio per favore. And with that, they'll bring out a little glass next to the can of cola with a few cubes in it. Don't expect many. Let's talk about the wine. If you get a bottle of wine, I recommend you try the different wine from the different areas you visit Italy. Do that. Also, the house wines are typically wines from the region. If you go the house wine, how do you say you want a quarter of the house wine or something? Well, a quarter liter, you say un quarto di vino. And vino rosso, red wine, or Vino Bianco, white wine. On the wine menu, you'll also see, in this case, rosé wines, and also sparkling Prosecco wines, which are great sparkling wines from up in the north in Veneto and the Val d'Obiadene area. Also on the wine menu, you'll see your beers listed. La birra is how you say a beer, please. Una birra per favore. And also in there, you'll see the other items. Now, unlike in the United States, mixed drinks aren't a big thing. You can order a Negroni or spritz before dinner, but don't expect to come here and order a cocktail like a gin and tonic at an Italian restaurant. Here comes the primo, and I think it's a good time to talk about the different plates you're going to have, the different courses you're going to have in Italy. This is a primo, that's your first course, but what you get before that is an antipasto, an appetizer. So we have an antipasto, first course, a primo, second course, secondo. You can have a side dish, which is called a contorno, and then also, which is self-explanatory, dessert, which is here called in Italy, dolce. Now, antipasto, that's usually a dish that people share. It can be cold cuts, it can be some sliced up vegetables, although that's more like a contorno. Contorno are usually your vegetables. And for the contorno today, we get a side dish of spinach. Now, for your first courses, it'll be pastas, it'll be risotto, that very good Italian rice, or it could be something like a soup. A second course, a secondo, that'll be meat or fish. And then, yeah, dessert, and we'll get into that. This pasta, cooked to perfection. In fact, only in Italy can you get it like this. That's the other advice. Don't come here expecting those Americanized dishes like the pasta primavera or the chicken parmigiana or fettuccine alfredo. You're not going to find those here in Italy, so don't bother asking for those. But what you are going to find are these local dishes. So every region, every province will have its particular dish. In this case, it's rigatoni from the local town of Impruneta. So it's an Impruneta sauce with this rigatoni pasta. In Rome, you'll get the pasta carbonara or the amartigiana. Here in Florence, besides a place like this, you'll get the bistecca fiorentina. Up in the north in Milan, you'll have plates like the risotto milanese, which have great rice with the creamy saffron sauce. We're gonna have a look in the kitchen, behind the scenes view of an Italian kitchen. Now, they do a lot of work in a small space. And here they're picking up the risotto.
Risotto with lamb risotto.
Risotto with lamb risotto. So this is a particular Florence dish. Lamb risotto, of course, that's one of the stomachs of a cow. So if you're not into cow stomach, well then don't go with your risotto lamb risotto. And look right here. This is, you know you're in a kitchen in Florence when you see one of these big guys.
Steak with...
That's the bistecca fiorentina, and it's cooking up there on the grill.
1 kilo and mezzo.
Okay.
1 kilo and a half.
So we're looking at 1,500 grams of just perfect steak right there, perfect beef. Here you see the sauces for the pastas. He's throwing in some gnocchi.
Gnocchi with gorgonzola. I subscribe, eh?
Yeah, great. Let me see.
Gregor.
Great. I just got a new subscriber here in the kitchen. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Gregor. I will upload this video.
Thank you. If you get a chance when you're at an Italian restaurant, ask to see the kitchen and the inner workings, because it really gives you an appreciation of the love that Italians have for their food, and they're cooking it up back here. Just took a break there from eating. Let's talk about how Italians eat and what they eat. Obviously, they don't sit down every day and have a antipasto, primo, secondo, and dolce. They don't do that every day, although you can, and they sometimes do. When you're here visiting, I suggest you do it. Just indulge. What they'll typically do, and what I'll typically do, is mix and match. And so you may sit down, you can get an antipasto, an appetizer, mixed with a secondo, or if you want, just order a plate of pasta, get a primo, and maybe a dessert afterwards. Or if you want to sit down and just order secondo, a second dish, a meat or a fish plate, you can do that too. So however you want to mix and match, feel free to do so. And if you want to order the whole menu, also do that. Also keep in mind that the plates, they'll come one after another. They don't bring all those plates out at one time. And it's rare that you'll find here in Italy, like you could see in the United States, that you see a combination plate where they pile different things on one plate. They don't typically do that. In fact, when you eat in Italy, it's a slow process. So just sit back and relax. I want to talk a little bit about substitution, because oftentimes in the United States, if you don't like certain ingredients, you can ask for one to be pulled out of the menu item and substituted with another. Well, here in Italy, you can't do that. Maybe they'll take out a certain ingredient if you're allergic to it or something, but they're not going to switch things up. Don't expect to get a pasta alla carbonara with chicken instead of pork. It just ain't gonna happen here. So this is our second course, our secondo dish, and they just brought out our contorno, our side dish, with it as well. And this is some spinach that's been prepared to go along with our second course. As you may have noticed, eating in Italy, it's a slow affair. It's not what you'd see in the United States, where it's a fast in and out business where they're trying to get through as many customers in one evening as they can to maximize their profits. Here it's a slow pace, one dish, and you may wait another 10-20 minutes before that next dish comes out. In fact, when the last dishes are cleared and the waiter pulls them away, he may not even automatically bring the bill. You may have to ask for the bill to come to the table afterwards. They're just not in a hurry here. If you guys are enjoying these videos, please hit that thumbs up down below. Also, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And just to let you know, I'm putting out a regular newsletter via email that you can sign up for travel tips and hacks and all sorts of other information. There's a link down in the description to sign up for that. Also down in the description, I'll leave the location of this restaurant if you're interested in that. Just to interrupt this video for 1 second to let you know about the Italy Insider e-guide that I put out, so you can download it, have it in your pocket offline when you're traveling around this country. Everything you need to know about getting to and from Italy, hotels, Airbnbs, things like carrying cash, and how you're going to connect to the internet. There's a link to download it in the description below. Now, I didn't talk about when you come to a restaurant to sit down. Well, you're going to ask table for one, table for two, table for four. So how you say that is you say un tavolo per uno, one, un tavolo per due, tre, quattro. So the phrase is un tavolo per, and then you say your number, 1, 2, or 3, uno, due, and then per favore. So un tavolo per due, per favore, and then you have a seat.
Qual è il dolce? Sono rimasto torta di mele, torta al cioccolato, torta pere e cioccolato e cantucci.
Torta pere cioccolato.
Pere e cioccolato.
Grazie.
We just got a slice of pear and chocolate cake. You always got to go in for the last course, and that's the dolce, the dessert course. In Italy, again, in every little region you can find the different courses. Here they have the cantucci, which are these hard kind of cookie biscuits that you'll normally dip into a sweet liquor, but it's not my preferred thing, so I went with the pear and chocolate. But do whatever you like.
Un caffè macchiato.
Just ordered a coffee to go along with my dessert. Often in Italy, they'll bring out what's called a digestivo, and that's sometimes free. They'll offer it to you on the way out the door. It could be something like a limoncello or other sorts of digestive drinks. In Italy, they're very big on these strong alcohol digestive drinks. At the end of the meal, they say it helps settle your stomach. If you've had a big lunch or dinner of drinking wine, I'm not sure if it'll help or hurt you to have another little shot of strong alcohol after your meal, so you decide how you want it. But if they offer up a sweet limoncello, hey, why not? Just drink it. What's your favorite dessert? Let me know down in the comments. Mine has always been dark chocolate, and dark chocolate mixed with pear like this. It's a good combination. You want some? If they bring a digestivo, it'll typically come after the dessert or as you're paying on the way out of the restaurant. This is a perfect kick, perfect punch at the end of a nice lunch.
Grazie Matteo.
Grazie mille a voi.
Ciao. Buona giornata. Ciao.
Matteo was so friendly in there throughout the whole lunch as well. Eating in Italy, well, it's inexpensive, especially to the United States or other parts of the world. It's quite a bargain. Now, what I recommend when you're up there, when you get the receipt, don't throw down your credit card or your Euro cash right away. Make sure to look over the different items. And yeah, sure enough, we were charged the right amounts going down the list. Also, he didn't even charge us for the bread or the servizio, and that's what I want to talk with you about. The bread, that's a charge. It's usually €2, and that's covered within what's called the coperto, the cover charge, or the servizio, the service charge. And don't expect, if you're among friends, that you can split the bill in 2 or 3s. They don't do that here. They don't like to do that. If you have to do it, well, you can ask and they may oblige. And another thing I want to talk about is, of course, the tipping, and what we call here la mancia. It's not a word that's used very much, especially when you're talking about dinner or lunch like we had here today. We don't tip in Italy or in Europe. That's a US thing. They take tips because they're used to the American tourist here, but don't feel like you have to tip. If anything, throw down €1 or €2 and call it a lunch, but don't put like a 10% or 20% tip. We just don't do that. But just get to Italy, feast, dine, delight, just get down and dirty and enjoy your time here in Italy.